if I told you that I could give you the secret to long-term happiness, inner peace, and well-being in just 3 words? Would you think that I was hallucinating? Do you think that I was about to sell you my new Instant Enlightenment program, just 3 easy payments of $449 a month for 3 months? Buy now. Or are you leaning it a bit closer now, listening more intently, curious to hear a little more of what I'm talking about? Here's the thing. Most people live their lives from the outside in, believing that there are certain things outside themselves that they can't be without if they want to experience happiness, well-being, inner peace, and security. I'm talking about things like wealth, possessions, achievements, or the right kind of relationships with the right kind of people. But fortunately, there's another way to live your life from the inside out that creates a greater experience of inner peace and well-being with much less effort and stress. The late philosopher Sydney Banks taught 3 fundamental principles of psychology based on our natural, innate tendency toward mental health and well-being. He claimed that a person who had a deep understanding of these 3 principles would enjoy a lifelong experience of happiness and well-being with minimal effort. He labeled these 3 principles mind, consciousness, and thought. Mind is the formless, energized space that exists within every living being, inside of which all of our subjective experience takes place. Consciousness is the ability to perceive our experience and to observe the process of how we create that moment by moment. And thought is the capability within us to direct and to create our subjective experience of life and consensus reality. Mind, consciousness, thought. Our thoughts behave like the pixels of subjective experience. Every aspect of our experience, from our sensing of the physical world outside us, to our memories, to our deepest emotions, to our beliefs and values, to our experience of our own physical body, all of that, every last little bit of it is made up of thought. It takes place within our mind, and we're able to experience it, to perceive it, and to respond and react to it because of our consciousness. Mind, consciousness, thought. Now let's look a little bit closer at thought. When you have angry or sad thoughts, you tend to feel angry or sad as a result of that. When you don't have such thoughts, those mind states don't happen. Your mind state will return to its natural state of balance and peace. But here's the thing. Thoughts, both positive and negative, are inevitable. We don't completely control them. I ask you, how can we experience wellness if we're at the mercy of the torrent of thoughts flowing through our minds constantly? How can we do that? The answer? We don't have to believe everything that we think. The gauge for knowing whether to trust our thoughts is simple. If we're in a low mind state, perhaps run down or tired, then our thoughts are more likely to be negative and untrustworthy. And paradoxically, in that situation, we are more likely to treat them seriously as though they're something real. On the other hand, if we're in an elevated mind state, then our thoughts are more likely to be balanced, realistic, and aligned with reality. And in that situation, we are more likely to treat all of our thoughts, good or bad, as nothing serious. They're just thoughts. One of the most important results or outcomes of this philosophy is that your personal experience of well-being is not something you need to earn or to create from things that you have or things that you do. It's as much a part of you as your skin or your heart. Just as you don't have to take specific conscious actions to cause your blood to clot or to make your immune system fight off a virus, you don't need to do specific actions to make yourself return to mental and psychological equilibrium. It just happens naturally, keeping these three principles in mind. This is the promise of living from the inside out instead of from the outside in. In fact, just being aware of these three principles of mind, consciousness, and thought is enough to get started. Right now, right here already, you are on the road to greater inner peace, happiness, and well-being, whether you want to be or not. I'll leave you now with a quote from Dr. George Pransky, who's achieved great outcomes with his clients by putting these principles into action in his psychotherapy practice over the past 30 years. Dr. Pransky said, "When people see life philosophically and impersonally, they have very good well-being. Conversely, when people take life personally and get personally identified with everything that happens to them, they end up feeling badly and alienated. The very definition of unhappiness is taking life personally in that way. To the extent that you understand the impersonal view and the interpretation of life where you see yourself as an ordinary human being going through these human experiences, and you begin to understand the deeper patterns of life that we exemplify in our own personal lives, to the extent that you see that world, your mental well-being will be very, very good."